Hello and welcome. My name is Nathan, and I am here to talk to you about my game, Guilds of Nujanik. Now, in this video, I wanted to introduce you to Guilds, to talk about my heart behind making it. I want to share some of the mechanics, some of the story, and then finally my vision for the future of Guilds. And I do hope that you enjoy it. So I just want to talk about my heart and the start of really making guilds. Well, it all started when I was a teenager, a younger teenager. I was into video games. I liked a lot of role-playing video games like the Elder Scrolls. I love Lord of the Rings. I love everything fantasy like that. And there was a show on YouTube called Unforgotten Realms. And it was also a homemade role-playing game that a group of friends would stream and play. And I really enjoyed it. I was personally a fan of the content creator. They don't do it anymore, and I stopped watching about a year or two into it. But that made me really want to play a role-playing game. However, around that same time, my mom had asked me to promise her to never play Dungeons and Dragons. I grew up in a Christian household. I personally still hold on to those beliefs really strongly. And so, at the time I made the promise, and I didn't want to break the promise. And I still don't. I still don't have any plans to play Dungeons and Dragons personally at this point, because I really think my game is a lot of fun, and I think it's better. Other than Guilds, the only role-playing game I've played is an older Star Wars RPG, which was a lot of fun. But at the time, I had nothing. I think I had only played the Star Wars once or twice, and so I didn't really know what to do. So I wanted to start creating my own game. And, it was very basic. Just the first time I wrote stuff down, it was just some races, some class ideas, and that was it. The way that I played the game was I just kind of made it up on the spot. I never played with a lot of people, maybe one or two people at a time. Most of the time, younger kids, the kids that I used to babysit, I would always have to just play with them, and it was a very dumbed down version, obviously, but it made me want to keep it simple. And so, about 2 years ago, I have been creating guilds for about 6 years or so. At the start, it was just the Lego game, because that was the only minis I had. And so we would have a board, play it with Legos, because you could customize your character, and it was just a lot of fun. However, about 2 years ago, I really wanted to do this seriously, because I really wanted a business, So, the idea of guilds and really writing it down. So, I started writing down all the rules, or I wrote down everything that I could write down, and it's still not done. I started play testing it last year. Got a lot of good feedback, got a lot of balance changes. A lot of things changed once I started actually playing with people who used to play or who play role-playing games. So that's been really helpful to me. So the goal so that is how it all started. How I started creating guilds and getting into this. Now my goal in making guilds is a simple game. But I want it to be engaging and fun, right? I don't want it to be so simple that you turn off your brain and don't have a good experience. I want it to be simple for those who don't really play role-playing games to get into. I would love for, Christians and churches and youth groups to pick up guilds and to be able to use it with their kids and the teenagers. So I want it simple for people who don't play those sort of things to get into, but I also want it fun and engaging so that people just aren't bored. And I think I've been getting that good balance with simple but engaging. I also want it to be I also want to create both a product and a community that will last. So I want, guilds to last. This isn't. I don't want it to be a one-stop shop where it never changes. I just want it to grow and last. I have a bunch of ideas too that I haven't yet put into the rules, and that I'm gonna have to wait because I love creating and I love coming up with ideas for it. But I don't want it to be too bloated, too complex. And that's the goal. I want it to be an easy pick up and play game. Not I've GM'd quite a bit for guilds. I have a couple friends who are GMs, and I know the work that comes into creating a fun experience, and I want to make that process as easy as possible. And I'll talk about that more in the mechanics. Let's see. I want to keep talking about just the heart of guilds. I want it to be both gameplay wise, but also story wise. I want the world to be something that people are more comfortable with. Again, I'm a Christian. I know parents who are very strict, and so I want those people to be able to be comfortable playing a game. I know that there's a lot of stigma with role-playing games, especially with Dungeons and Dragons, with the 80s and 70s, 80s, 90s, and it had a lot of demonic stuff, and I think it just I think it went that way also to get more reaction from people. So I want to avoid that, and I want good to be good. I want evil to be evil. I want there to be that fight between good and evil. And I don't believe good is boring, or good has to be boring. Good should be exciting, should be rewarding, and I don't feel like entertainment nowadays really portrays that. All that it portrays is the anti-hero and the anti-villain, which I love those archetypes, but they've become the only way to have an exciting hero. I believe that an exciting hero can be the good guy, the good girl who doesn't falter, who rises up against the challenges that come against them. And I want to portray that. So that is also the heart. Now, because it is a game, there's always the option for evil. And I don't want to take away that choice from the players. However, I want to portray there is potential rewards, but not lasting rewards. So there is still that choice, but I want there to, and I don't want it to be too punishing, but, evil is punished. Good is rewarded. Evil is punished. Now, I want to get into the mechanics. So first, we could talk character creation. In guilds, there are no classes. There's no classes that you level up into, no multi-classing. Instead, characters level up. They gain experience. They do still level up. And on every level up, they gain certain bonuses, certain points. It's a point system. There's ability points and there's stat points. Both are very important. Stat points are things like fortitude, reflex, intellect, suave, and luck. So those are the 5 stats. And each stat gives different bonuses to your character in both roleplay and combat encounters. You have what you do is you take the fortitude. Say you have 4 stat points in fortitude, and then you roll a stat save is you add half of your stat to the bonus roll. And so you roll, say you want to pick up a rock or break down a door. You would roll a fortitude save to try to break down the door. And same thing with intellect, suave, and luck, and the rest of them. So they have the roleplay bonuses showing their character's ability, whether they're very strong or just very smart or just lucky. But then there's also small bonuses that you get for combat as well. Stats are dependent on your character's level. This will keep people from just putting all points into one stat right off the bat. I've had a lot of I have play tested. I have play tested this game with a lot of min maxers, people who go for the optimized build, which has helped me to see what's broken. And so, what do I need to fix? And how can I not just punish? Okay, because the thing is, I don't want to just punish optimized play. I want to make everything optimized, right? I don't want there to be, if you just pump all your stat points into fortitude and then you do all this extra damage, you get extra attack roll through reflex, and you just, you're level 2 and you're killing everything in one hit. That's dumb. Especially if non-optimized builds and balanced builds are, not hitting every single attack, not dealing as much damage as they could. I want to make everything optimal, and part of that is reining in the min-maxing potential. So, stats are only restricted 4 points above your character level. So, that's just, if you're level 2, you can only have 6 fortitude, which still allows you to have more, but it keeps someone from being level 2 and just putting all their points in fortitude and having 10 fortitude. It's restrictive, but it's not too restrictive. It still allows for differences in play, especially based on how many stat points you actually get through leveling up. There's also ability points. So abilities are dependent on stats because there's different ability trees, and each tree has about 5 tiers, and each tier you need a certain amount of stats for that ability. And they coincide with the ability. It's not just a random stat. So in order to go up an ability, you need the stat. But there's different abilities. There's fighting abilities. There's healing abilities. There's abilities that make you sneaky, that make you smart with robotics, because there's robots, Venators, which I'll talk about them when I get to them. So abilities are fun. They give bonuses to your character. They give you, abilities that you can perform, like healing, or trying to disarm an enemy, or dual wielding swords, or getting double your attacks. Just different things that all come with. Some of them come with pros and cons. Some of them are very basic. There's also a leveled ability system where every 5 levels, so at levels 5, 10, 15, 20, just the ability increases. Some abilities increase. So say that there's a tier 1 ability that just gives you +1 to your attack roll. Then what happens is once you hit level 5, that becomes a +2. Once you hit level 10, that becomes a +3. Level 15, +4. Level 20, +5. This allows for some abilities not just becoming useless. If you and your team all have about 60 health, 70 health, and you have an ability that allows you to heal 2 people for 8 health, like 4 to 8 health, that's not as useful as, if you can heal them up to 20. Things like that. Now, gameplay. So that's character creation. With gameplay, it's a simple D20 system. For most decisions, I don't have a D20 here, but you roll a D20. And then you add any bonuses that go with that. So if it's a save roll, or our stat save roll, you add the stat, half of the stat. If it's an attack roll, you add your attack roll bonus, your base bonus. I call it base. That's the amount that you always add to the D20. I know base may be confusing, but that's what I use it as. There's also weapons have different dice rolls for damage. So While most decisions are done through a d20, there's the occasional time where with abilities or weapons, you'll roll different dice. Like Medic. Medic is you roll 1d4. You can heal 1d4 enemies for 2d6 health, or wounds or vitality. But you have to roll a d20 first to see if you can actually perform the action. And then you roll the d4 to see how many allies, and then you roll the health to heal your allies. And then weapons, they can have a damage from 1d4 plus 1 to 2d8 to 2d10 to a d20. There's one weapon with a d20, which is very interesting because, there's a lot of risk with that. Let's see. So that's kind of gameplay. Again, dice rolls mixed with your bonuses. Very familiar to a lot of people. Now, the encounters and scenarios. I'm a storyteller, so when I play guilds, I tell a story. I like to tell a story and weave a story through the main goal, the main quest that the guild is on, as well as the random encounters that they can come through. However, sometimes you don't have a lot of time to prepare for a game, and all you can do is just have the main quest set up. My system allows for a randomized encounter and scenario system. So you roll, you're going to go on a quest outside the city. You roll a d4 to see how many scenarios you get. And then for each one, you just roll, you follow the chart, and that's the encounter that they face. I frequently use this to weave it into the main story if it's, appropriate. But you don't have to do that. It could be its own story. It could be a nothing burger and just be, just a fight, or it's a roleplay encounter. I like to mix it up. When I first started, everything I did was a combat encounter. So for my players, all they did was build combat characters and focus only on combat. However, part of what I've been working on with the game is to add more stat saves that aren't just fortitude or reflex. I want them to be able to, if they have to track something in the woods, they have to figure out a puzzle. I don't know, just anything that is different. So there's role-play encounters and combat encounters and a bunch of different other stuff. Obviously, it's limited to how much. However, with the different enemy types and monster types mixed in with all of this, and once a GM gets comfortable with the random encounters, they can change them however they want. But that's my goal. I want it to be easy. I want it to be really a plug and play. So you have a quest that you came up with, and you just want to plug in some encounters for just fun. They don't all have to be part of the story. This helps the world feel more alive. The thing is, it's very random. So every single time you go out of the city, you have random things. It's not static. It's not always the same world that you're going to explore, because you may go out north and meet a village. Then you may go out north again and you'll get attacked by harpies or the void or monsters or bandits. There may be a tree down at one time. There may not be a tree. Think of it as like random game encounters. Again, this allows it to be more random, dynamic, instead of static, the same thing. And you have to plot out the entire land. The city of Nujanik, I'll get to this in the story, but it helps you. It keeps you from being forced to create a land with villages and cities and keeping track of everything. Now, if that's what you want to do, you can. You have the freedom to. But I think doing it this way makes it easier for people to just plug and play, have some good encounters, and have fun. And then finally, with mechanics, there's the enemies. I have a list of monsters that all do different things, and a list of character archetypes. This is the closest thing that this game gets to a It's the closest thing that this game gets to a class. This helps the GM just plug and play different enemy level stats. So there's going to be about 10 classes, 2 per stat. So they all have like a different stat focus. There's like the Berserker, there's the Bodyguard, there's like a con man gunslinger type guy. There's a luck-based build called the Gambler who does unarmed and just different things like that. Gives it a little bit of flavor. Obviously, they also have the option to be changed. You can change their weapons, change some of their abilities. But each class has a level 0 stat sheet, a level 5, level 10, level 15, level 20. So there's the 5 level stats for each character, depending on the amount of challenge that the GM wants to bring. And it really depends on your players. If your players are all min-maxed and super powerful, and they're level 5 but they can kill level 10 enemies, then you can do that. If they're pretty balanced and they would die if they faced a really powerful enemy, you use a lot more lower levels, guys. It's up to you. A lot of encounters do have suggestions on the type of enemies and enemy levels to bring. But again, it is there. The way I see my mechanics, they are tools. They are part of a structure. However, while this structure is built to work together, it's also flexible enough to be changed without tearing down the structure. That's the goal. All right, so now I want to talk about the story. Guilds of Nujanik tells the story of a guild of mercenaries within the city of Nujanik, which is in the state of Nujanik. So it's very creative. Nujanik is a city-state, as I said, that has grown from mercenary work. It at first was an outlaw base, and it just kind of evolved over time, became its own superpower of sorts. They use their services for the different kingdoms around them that wage war against each other all the time. So Nujanik is just kind of in the mix, in the middle of all that. They also do a lot for the people of Nujanik, making sure the state is safe. However, throughout the constant fighting and war that has been made, because they're all mercenaries, they're always fight, a lot of void creatures, bandits, and monsters now roam the land, now roam the forest, and cause more trouble for the civilians that the mercenaries are trying to protect. So then, the guilds go out, fight these monsters, create more conflict, which just brings in more baddies. But there's always an increase, a surplus of mercenaries looking for work, looking for fame and fortune. So no one is really worried about it, because eventually there will be a mercenary guild who comes in and kills the bad guy. Now, not every guild is good, but what your guild does depends on what you want to do. Now, if you start at level 0 for characters, which I would suggest, especially on a first game, this allows people to kind of experience the growth of their characters, and you would start with them with a party traveling to the city of Nujanik. They're aspiring mercenaries, right? They haven't really done it before, but they want to do it. So they have to go to the city. Obviously, they have some encounters on the way. An encounter or two, have a fight, allows them to get some loot, get some experience. They get to the city. They have to figure out how to get licensed. They pick up a quest after they get licensed. They grow in fame and power, and as their characters are leveling up through experience, their guild can also gain fame points or infamy points, which will give them different bonuses and whatnot. Now, as you grow, other guilds may challenge you. There are the Dukes of Nujanik, the Dukes and the Duchesses of Nujanik, who are, so there can be some political intrigue going on there, where Dukes want the guild to kind of work for them a little bit, do some shady business, or maybe it's an upright Duke who wants them to work for them, or maybe it's the Church of the Father of the Light, who want them to go help them take care of a village. They want help passing out some food and take care of the people, or kill that evil void creature that's about to murder everybody. Along with that, I mentioned the church and the void. So there's the light and there's the void. Void is evil. It's the bad guys. It's a darkness. It twists creatures. So there's harpies, there's valkyries, there's giants, there's other monsters. And its whole thing, and cultists, its whole thing is wanting to bring down society, wanting to destroy the world, more or less. And then there's the light, there's the church, who want to defend the people, who want to defend the cities, who want to not allow everybody to be killed. So there's that. And throughout the story, you can play with it, you can play without it, but a lot of the story is also the guild facing decisions, whether they join with the void or join with the church and join with the light. Who do they stand with? Do they get some bonuses right now, some gold right now to be able to be powerful because they want to be selfish? Or do they want to sacrifice something of themselves so that people may be blessed, that people may live? Again, it depends on the GM. It depends on how you want to play it. But there is also light influence and void corruption mechanic as well. But I'll go into that in a different time. Obviously, I want to get more into the story, the races, and the history of both Nujanik and the continent of Jamia in another video. I don't want to get too much into here. It's already almost a 30-minute video, and it's been a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. So finally, these are my goals. What's my vision for, what's my next steps? Well, I want to fully develop the rulebook. At the time of this recording, I should have a free light version of the rules on DriveThruRPG, which the link will be in the description below. Once I get my full rulebook done, there's still little things I'm working on. Once that's done, I'm going to post that on DriveThruRPG as well for a fixed cost. The rules, the light version is free or pay what you want, just to kind of get people a taste of it. And then the full version will probably be, around $10, $20, just to get some revenue in. I want to fully develop this rulebook. I want this to be more than just a PDF or an online file. I want it to be filled with art. I want it to look really good instead of just an affinity-based document. I want it to look good, and that's the goal. But that does cost money, and that's not something I can do at the moment. So hopefully putting up my product will get people interested and paying into the idea. Now, if you are interested in supporting me, I will have my Patreon link down in the description below, where I will do other bonuses for my Patreons. I'm still trying to figure that out, but as soon as I gain some traction, I think it'll become a lot more easy to figure out what I'm actually going to do. Again, go into the description down below. Please pick up the free light version of the rules. It's about 63 pages long, but it'll have a lot of basic stuff and give you just kind of a look into guilds. And yeah, so I would love also to hear any comments, thoughts, and ideas for the game, for the rules. I'm open to suggestions. I do know what I want, so I know what the goal is, but if there are things that kind of fit in that and rule changes that may need to be made, I'm open to it. Again, my desire for guilds is to be simple, but I want it to be fun and engaging. I want that balance, and I know I can't do it perfectly, but I desire to do it the best I can. So, thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time and just your interest. Again, please check out, I have social media down in the description below. I have my Instagram, again, my DriveThru account. my Drive-Thru RPG account, and my Patreon. And please like and subscribe the video. Share with people who you think would be interested in a brand new TTRPG that's in the works. Thank you for watching, and you have a blessed day.